Everyone is looking up at rockets, at satellites, at data centers being launched into orbit, at the next platform, the next model, the next infrastructure breakthrough that's going to change everything. I get it. I'm in that world. I build AI systems for businesses. I follow the launches and the filings and the funding rounds. But I want to tell you something I don't hear anyone else saying out loud. The most significant frontier we have left isn't out there. It's in here. And the people who figure that out first, they're going to run the next century, not the people with the most satellites. In this video, I'm going to make a case that might sound strange coming from someone who builds AI automation for a living. I'm going to argue that metacognition, your ability to observe your own thinking, is a more valuable skill than any technical capability you could learn right now. That leaders, real leaders, are distinguished not by their decisions, but by what they can sense. And that the reason so few people develop this capacity isn't lack of intelligence. It's systematic obstruction. I'm also going to get personal because the insight I'm sharing didn't come from a book. It came from a period of my life when I went inward, deliberately, obsessively, and started tracking what I noticed. Stay with me. Here's a theory I keep coming back to. When you look at the people we call leaders, real ones, not just people with titles, the differentiator isn't charisma. It isn't IQ. It isn't even work ethic. Though that matters, it's that they sense more. They pick up signals in the environment that other people filter out. They notice what's shifting before it shows up in the data. They read a room, read a situation, read a trend, not because they're smarter, but because their perception is wider and their processing is cleaner. Think about that for a second. Leadership isn't about having better answers. It's about receiving better inputs. And if that's true, if sensing is the core leadership skill, then the real question becomes, what obstructs sensing? What blocks the signal? Because I think we're living through a low leader moment, not because people lack potential, but because the things that sharpen perception, stillness, depth, genuine social connection, honest feedback, the discipline of observing your own mind, those things are being systematically crowded out by noise, by speed, by the pressure to produce and perform and react constantly in real time. We've built an environment that rewards output and punishes the kind of quiet interiority that actually develops great thinkers. A few years ago, I went through a period where I was tracking my own metacognition almost obsessively. I was journaling, not the gratitudeless kind, not the productivity review kind. I was watching myself think, trying to catch the actual machinery of my own cognition in the act. And something strange started showing up in the data. My energy wasn't random. My clarity wasn't random. There were patterns, biological rhythms, nervous system states, days of almost uncomfortable focus, and days of what I can only describe as fog that didn't correlate with what I'd eaten or how I'd slept or how hard I'd worked. I started noticing correlations with external cycles, solar activity, geomagnetic conditions, things that sound insane to say out loud in a world that only trusts peer-reviewed papers and institutional validation. But here's the thing, I wasn't theorizing, I was observing my own biology, my own cognition, my own nervous system tracked over time in my own handwriting. And what it pointed toward was something that I think a lot of people sense, but very few will say. We are not separate from the environment we live in, not psychologically, not biologically. We are coupled to it. We resonate with it. And the quality of our thinking, our creativity, our perception, our leadership capacity fluctuates with forces that most modern frameworks don't even have language for. That's not mysticism. That's just honest observation before the theory is built. Here's where it gets interesting for me as someone who lives in the AI and technology world. I'm watching Elon Musk file to launch 1 million satellites into orbit to power artificial general intelligence. I'm watching data centers get built at a scale that strains national power grids. I'm watching an entire civilization pour its most extraordinary resources into building bigger, faster, more powerful external systems. And I find myself genuinely more interested in what's happening inside. Not because the external developments don't matter. They do profoundly. But because the interior frontier, the development of human perception, metacognition, the ability to sense and process reality with increasing clarity and depth, that's the thing nobody's investing in at scale. The future most people are betting on is Mars. More space, more compute, more infrastructure, bigger machines doing more things faster. My intuition, and I'll own it as intuition, is that the real leverage is metaphysics. Not in the woo sense. In the literal sense, the study of what underlies physical reality, and specifically what underlies human experience of it. The people who figure out how to develop their own perception, their own metacognitive capacity, their own ability to sense clearly in a noisy world, they are going to make better decisions, build better things, lead better lives, and contribute more meaningfully than the people who outsource all of that to external systems. Because AI can process, it cannot perceive, it can optimize, it cannot sense. That gap between processing and perceiving is entirely human territory. And right now, most humans are abandoning it. So let me bring this back to where I started. Everyone is looking up at the rockets and the satellites and the next infrastructure layer being built above our heads. I'm not saying stop looking. I'm saying also look in, because the leaders who are going to matter in the next decade aren't going to be the ones with access to the best tools. Those tools are becoming commodities. They're going to be the ones who can sense what the tools can't, who can perceive what the models miss, who can navigate uncertainty with a quality of attention that no amount of compute can replicate. That capacity lives in the interior. It's developed through stillness, through honest self-observation, through the willingness to track your own experience over time and take what you find seriously, even when it doesn't fit the frameworks people around you are using. I spent a period of my life going inward at a depth I hadn't gone, and what I found wasn't mysticism. It was data, richer, stranger, and more personally relevant than anything in my newsfeed. The frontier is real. It's just not where most people are looking.